it has 60 pages of intimidating name index. Hello guys, it's Jay and today I'm gonna talk about the book The Silmarillion. I've seen that some people struggling with reading this book and sometimes even starting with the book would be a challenge because of the kind of perceptions. I too hesitated to start on this journey and postponed it quite a while. Currently, I'm 1/3 of the story right now, and I think I can safely say that I could finish this book without much trouble. Well, my first journey onto Tolkien's world began with the movie The Lord of the Rings, and after that, I read The Hobbit just before the movie release. I attempted to read The Lord of the Rings at that time, but couldn't finish it. And only a few years later, I think it was 2021, I could finally finish this one and bought the Silmarillion. But after I received the book, I felt somewhat daunted because it has 60 pages of intimidating name index. This much is just a name. And also, the paperback I purchased, being the cheapest option, has minimum margins. And randomly opening the book reveals some passage in Old English, like, "This kingdom thou shalt not take for thine own lawfully, for many other have labored here no less than thou." And dialogue itself is quite sparse within this book. And recently I saw an Instagram post saying that open the nearest book to page 112 and the first dialogue would be a description of mine. So I tried that on Silmarillion, but it appears that on page 112 there is no dialogue. So I thought like maybe the next dialogue would be an option. So the next dialogue, next encounter of quotation mark, was on page 124, and it was, "O king, to whom all birds are dear, speed now this feathered shaft, and record some pity for the Noldo in their need." So that's it. There's various sparse dialogues in this book, which is making me harder to read. So this kind of experience explains my belief that Silmarillion is not an easy read, and it lingers in my TBR list for a long time. However, a few days ago, I got this certain urge to go into the Tolkien's world once more, and because I've always wanted to read this one, so I began my journey through this challenging book. The first part has a letter from Tolkien himself. I have a habit of annotating books I read, underlining passages of importance, interest, or that I simply enjoy. As you can see, it almost looks like an already lined paper. Tolkien summarized his book in this letter very well, so it helps you understand the book better. Quite contrary to my initial idea, I found the Silmarillion to be less formidable read than I thought. Yeah, I admit that I read this slow pace, but I am always a slow reader. It's not my first language, and also because of my schedule, I only read 1 or 2 hours in the subway, so but I already finished 1/3 of this book, and progress is a progress. It's better than stop. So yeah. So please allow me to share some tips for those who want to read this one and also enjoy while reading it. But please note that I didn't even consider myself as a Tolkienist or like a Tolkien expert because of my humble knowledge about this world. I simply enjoy his work, and sometimes I shed tears because of that. Firstly, I think it would be helpful if you start with some of Tolkien's other works than the Silmarillion. So some of you might think that Silmarillion is about the history of the world. It literally begins with the start of the world. So it's like a great choice if you start with the Silmarillion. But for me, I think Silmarillion requires some of your dedication and your attention more than other works, so I think starting with some of the easier choices would be great. I strongly recommend just begin with The Hobbit because it's relatively straightforward and it's short and it's also easy to read. Consider following this with The Lord of the Rings. Bearing in mind that first 100 pages or so be pretty challenging, but it gets better after the first book. It's non-stop. Nevertheless, this pre-reading activity will grant you some of the background knowledge and also kindle the interest about the world and its people. Secondly, the Silmarillion teams with significant names from Middle-earth history, and it may be overwhelming at first. As I mentioned earlier, it contains 60 pages of name index. To ease this, consider explore some of the fan art or maybe some kind of fan fiction or memes or like fragments of Middle-earth history facts. These kinds of exposure can aid you to recognize some of the names as they appear in the stories. Thirdly, don't feel compelled to grasp every detail or commit every nuance to memory. While comprehending Middle-earth history is important, the Silmarillion inundates readers with information. Taking a more relaxed approach prevents exhaustion or boredom before reaching the end, and you can always read again. Fourthly, use some external sources to enhance your understanding. There's a lot of blog posts and there's even a wiki about the history of the Middle Earth, and you can always read them. And personally, I find that ChatGPT is kind of a useful source if you want some clarification about your understanding. But if you use GPT like me, please bear in mind that the information is not always accurate because GPT is designed to emulate human conversation rather than guarantee accuracy. And lastly, attempt to explain some of the episodes to your friends who especially don't know about the Tolkien's work. Use some accessible language to explain some complex episodes. For example, when describing Malcolm's aspiration to claim the world for himself, even if it's a collaborative work from a lot of Bala, try to explain it. It's something like a team project and there's a team member, in this case as Malcolm, and he claimed that he would be the presenter of the work even if he didn't do much about the work itself. So this kind of simplifying such episode enhances your understanding and also makes reading more enjoyable. So the Silmarillion, it may pose challenges, but with some approaches, its intricate world can be both comprehensive and also captivating. So thanks for watching.